Let's say the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarane Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatam Ham Vande Shri Gurudina Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Guruve Gauri Chandraya Radhikaya Kadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So let's do verse 12 and 13. So 12, 13 and 14th mantra go together. They have they are in a sequence basically. So you remember 9, 10th and 11th were in a sequence. They were talking about Vidya and Avidya. You remember that concept?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So in the same way, these three verses also flow. 12, 13, 14 also flow in the same way as 9, 10th and 11th did. Okay. So if you remember in 9th verse, they said that people who are following Avidya go into darkness. But worse are the people who follow Vidya. Is that right? So
Yes.
there the definition of Vidya was basically misguided knowledge or like material knowledge or this culture of knowledge which is godless or impersonal knowledge. Any of those misguided type of knowledge were called Vidya. And that type of Vidya is actually worse than having no knowledge. इससे ऐसे बोलते हैं ना इससे बेहतर तो कोई ज्ञान ना ही हो. तो ज्ञान ना होना better है than to have that kind of knowledge. Okay. So mantra 9 में ऐसे था. 10th was that people that follow Vidya and people that follow Avidya both have different destinations or different results. We know that. So there the definition of Vidya was actually proper transcendental knowledge, the Adhyatmik Gyan, Divya Gyan. So we know that people that are following proper, truly transcendental knowledge, they will go back to Godhead. They will make advancement on the spiritual path. And there Avidya stood for either no knowledge or misguided knowledge, material knowledge. Everything was clubbed into Avidya. That was mantra 10. So people following Vidya versus Avidya will have different destinations. And then mantra 11th said that, but we should cultivate both of them simultaneously. We should have some awareness of the material knowledge and the knowledge of this world as well. We should know what's going on. And simultaneously understand, keep the spiritual knowledge in the center, keep that as your goal, but use the avidya as needed to live in this world. So that was mantra 11. Keep both of those together. So that flow was clear, right? So let's, so in the similar way, this next verses will also flow 12, 13 and 14. So let's recite and see, understand their flow. So just like in 9th, 10th, 11th, we were talking about Vidya and Avidya. 12, 13, 14th are talking about. Does anyone, do you remember? What were they talking about? What are the two concepts here? जैसे उसमें विद्या विद्या थे, इसमें किन चीजों का कंपैरिजन किया गया है? क्या दो मेन एंटिटीज या प्रिंसिपल्स बताए गए हैं? You can look on the screen and tell me. Mama, would you like to take a guess?
And darkness, ignorance.
नहीं, ignorance में तो जाएगा कोई, कौन जाएगा? क्या कौन सी दो चीजों, जैसे विद्या और अविद्या का कंपैरिजन था पहले, is that comparison clear?
Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods.
हाँ, असंभूति, सो एक वर्ड है असंभूति, ये देखो असंभूति,
Yes.
और दूसरा वर्ड है
Demigods.
हाँ हाँ, असंभूति तो हो गया डेमिगॉड्स, और संभूति हो गया सुप्रीम एब्सोल्यूट ट्रूथ,
And the absolute.
परम सत्य, विच इज लॉर्ड कृष्ण.
Yes.
सो यहाँ पे ये तीनों वर्सेस में असंभूति और संभूति का कंपैरिजन है. सो अब इसको डिटेल्स लेंगे बाद में, पहले लेट्स रिसाइट दिस एंड द नेक्स्ट वन. अंधम तमा प्रविशन्ति, अंधम
तमा प्रविशन्ति,
ये असंभूतिम उपासते,
ये
असंभूतिम
उपासते,
ततो भूया एवाते तमो, ततो भूया एवाते तमो, य उ संभूतयामृता, य उ
संभूतयामृतः.
एक बार नेक्स्ट दो भी रिसाइट कर लें, फिर we will read their translations together and understand their flow. अन्याद् एवाहु संभवात्, अन्याद् अन्यद् आहुर् असंभवात्, अन्यद्
अन्यदाहुरसंभवात्
इति शुश्रूमधीराणाम्, इति
शुश्रूमधीराणाम्
येनस्तद्विचचक्षिरे,
येनस्तद्विचचक्षिरे.
You know, if you compared these verses, this verse is almost exactly similar to mantra 10. उसमें ये लाइन जो है बिल्कुल सेम है, इति शुश्रूमा धीरा नाम ये नस्तद विचचक्षिरे, सेम ही है ऑलमोस्ट. तो बस ये वर्ड ही चेंज हो रहा है, उसमें विद्या और अविद्या की जगह संभूति और असंभूति वर्ड यूज हो रहा है. ओके, एक बार अगला भी रिसाइट कर लेते हैं, तीनों साथ में चलते हैं तो इसलिए तीनों को कर लेते हैं. संभूतिम च विनाशम च,
संभूतिं च विनाशं च,
यस्तद्वेदो भयं सः,
यस्तद्वेदो भयं सः,
विनाशेन मृत्युं तीर्त्वा, विनाशेन मृत्युं तीर्त्वा, संभूत्यामृतमश्नुते, संभूत्यामृतमश्नुते. Okay, now let's read these three verses. Can we take turns? Yeah, 12, 13, 14. Okay. You want to start, Mama?
Mantra 12. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute.
You want to read the next one?
Haribol.
Go ahead. Next people look.
I can read it.
Yes. It is said, Mantra 13, it is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. Mantra 14. One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its material demigods, men and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it. And in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Hari Bol.
ये 14 थोड़ा लंबा है इसकी ट्रांसलेशन, लेकिन आज हम 14 नहीं करेंगे. But let's say Nagarchand Prabhu, based on our discussion of 9th, 10th, 11th, and the flow is same, can you guess the flow of these three verses? Can you tell me what may they be talking next?
So it's basically talking about demigod worship, that what is the position of those who do demigod worship versus those who worship the absolute. So more to do with the worship of impersonal absolute, and then supreme.
So I'm just asking what could be the flow of the verses. जैसे हमने पहले बोला था विद्या, ऐसी विद्या से तो अविद्या बेटर है. फिर हमने कहा था दोनों को साथ में लेके चलना चाहिए. फिर हमने कहा था कि नहीं, फिर हमने कहा था कि दोनों को अलग-अलग रिजल्ट्स मिलते हैं and we should take them together. So
like Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagwan understanding.
So basically these verses will say in mantra 12, okay? So first of all, let's just do properly. So there are two words, okay? Asambhuti and Sambhuti, okay? Asambhuti refers to those that have no independent existence. Matlab ki they are relying on the supreme cause. They are relative, they are not absolute, okay? So asambhuti could include, let's say, jivas, है ना, जैसे हम लोग हो गए, या matter, या demigods. Any of those things could be included in asambhuti. Anything that is dependent, that has no independent existence, that is called asambhuti. और संभूति हो गया जो completely independent है of everything. So that means absolute truth. So ये बात क्लियर है. संभूति और असंभूति, ये वर्ड पहले पता होना चाहिए सबसे पहली बात. तो असंभूति refers to those that have no independent existence. They are dependent. That could be demigods, jiva, and anything material, also like matter or this world. But in this verse, asambhuti is referring to demigods, because of all those things which type of asambhuti is worshipped, demigods are worshipped. So the verse is saying कि जो demigod worship करते हैं, they enter into अंधतमा और darkest regions of ignorance. और लेकिन जो संभूति की वर्शिप करते हैं, मतलब एब्सोल्यूट की वर्शिप करते हैं, वो उससे भी बुरे हैं. उनका हाल और भी बुरा होता है. Still worse are those that worship the absolute. तो ये प्रॉब्लम समझ नहीं आती कि, and we have discussed this verse at great length actually.
So this is our like talking about the absolute as impersonal, as the Mayavadi philosophy.
Yes, right. So this is talking about impersonal aspect of the absolute. So absolute truth या परम सत्य के तीन तरह के features होते हैं. One is impersonal, मतलब ब्रह्म ज्योति जो सभी जगह pervaded है. दूसरा aspect is परमात्मा, which is present within everything and everyone. And the highest understanding of param satya or absolute truth is Bhagwan. Okay, so there is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Bhagwan is the person who जिनकी हम सारी लीलाएं डिस्कस करते हैं, जो वृंदावन में रहते हैं, जो सारे तरह के रास लीला करते हैं, फ्लूट बजाते हैं और सब तरह की गोवर्धन को उठाते हैं. So all these leelas, the person that does it is Bhagwan. So there is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. तो अगर हम सिर्फ ब्रह्मन की उपासना करते हैं, इम्पर्सनल एब्सोल्यूट की उपासना करते हैं, सो दैट वर्शिप इज नॉट रिकमेंडेड. बेटर देन दैट इज एक्चुअली द वर्शिप ऑफ डेमीगॉड्स. तो हमने इसको जस्ट टू रिव्यू द वर्स मंत्रा 12 दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इन द पास्ट, कि डेमीगॉड की वर्शिप इज, इसमें लिखा है कि इट विल टेक यू इनटू डार्केस्ट रीजन्स ऑफ इग्नोरेंस. तो इसका मतलब वो भी कंडेम्ड है. डेमीगॉड वर्शिप इज आल्सो कंडेम्ड. बट वर्स इज इम्पर्सनल एब्सोल्यूट. तो दो गलत चीजों के बीच में कंपैरिजन हो रहा है. ठीक है. This verse is not endorsing, is not recommending demigod worship. So you have to understand that, okay? This verse is not recommending demigod worship. This verse is comparing the two wrong paths and which one is worse of the two wrong paths. Okay? तो हमने ये डिस्कस किया था कि demigod worship is actually is something that's done for fruitive benefits, something that's done for material desires or for temporary relief from temporary problems of this world, right? Or some people do it to improve their material situation, like they want a better birth, they want more money, they want to reside in heavenly planets next birth, things like that. So since it keeps you in material world, that's why this demigod worship is not very much recommended, because you're still stuck in this material world. So you may go to higher planets, you may enjoy more bhoga, more sense enjoyment with a better body, you may have a longer life, you know, all those resources at your disposal, but actually you're still stuck in the material world and you will have to take birth again as a human to go back to Godhead. So, so you will just get temporary relief from temporary problems, but at the end of it, you are still stuck in the material world. इसमें हमने ट्रेन का एग्जांपल लिया था कि कोई ट्रेन के एसी के कंपार्टमेंट में बैठा है और कोई बिल्कुल थर्ड क्लास कंपार्टमेंट में बैठा है ना? ऐसा नहीं कि जो एसी कंपार्टमेंट में बैठा है ही इज गोइंग टू रीच द डेस्टिनेशन faster or sooner. No, he's just enjoying more while he's in there, but he's still stuck in the train. So similarly, these people that are going to heavenly planets, they may be enjoying more, but they're still stuck in material world, and they still have to come back to the bhulok or earth planet to achieve the pure devotional service of the Lord. So heavenly planets are still considered darkness. So that's why it's saying that when you worship demigods, you enter into darkest regions of ignorance. But we also discussed that demigod worship is within the Vedic authority. It is recommended by the Vedas. As you know that Vedas give us a path to gradually cleanse our consciousness, to gradually relieve ourselves from sinful reactions. So demigod worship is one such way to relieve ourselves from various sinful reactions and various to earn some pious credits and to fulfill some material wishes, so even though you're filling your material desires through demigods, you're doing it in a religious way. So that is why it is called religious materialism. तो वेदास जो है वो हमें इसलिए कर्म कांड सिखाते हैं, डेमीगॉड वर्शिप सिखाते हैं, रिचुअलिस्टिक वर्शिप सिखाते हैं, and that is all materialistic. It is all materialism, but it is at least within Vedic authority. It is religious materialism. So for these people, there is hope, because slowly they will get cleansed. Even though right now they are doing demigod worship, they are engaging in demigod worship for selfish purpose, but eventually they will get cleansed and rise to the platform of selfless love. अभी तो fruitful benefits के लिए कर रहे हैं, fruitive desires के लिए कर रहे हैं. But since they are following a superior authority recommended by the Vedas, they are following a path that is recommended by the scriptures, they are under the shelter of a superior authority who are also servants of the Lord, right? They're also representatives of the Lord. So they're at least under their care. So in this way, they will slowly advance and elevate themselves, okay? Because they have faith in a higher authority. So demigod system is actually a system recommended for lower consciousness people who still need to cleanse themselves and advance, because they're not ready for pure selfless love or pure devotional service to the Lord. They don't have that much faith, but they want to improve their current material situation, and they do that through Devi Devtas. So this is a recommended path through Vedas. Okay. But the problem is that you're still stuck in cycle of birth and death, and you should not, ideally you should know that they are not the supreme. You should not approach them as supreme. You should approach them as guru or as a servant of the Lord, as a representative of the Lord, and slowly progress. Now, if you approach them as supreme, then that's a problem. That's a misdirected path. It's a misleading path, because then you will stay away from Krishna, because this person will just keep fulfilling his fruitive desires through demigods, worshipping them as the supreme authority, when they are not the supreme authority. So Krishna says that many times in Bhagavad Gita, that whatever wishes are being fulfilled by Demigods are also granted by me only. And whatever offerings you make to demigods, they are reaching me only, because I am the supreme beneficiary of all the offerings and sacrifices. So this is the demigod worship. So demigod worship is recommended for some people. It is not, हमने ये भी discuss किया था, it is not good or bad system. If you are at a lower level, then it is good for you. It is favorable because it will help you advance. But if you're already in contact with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and with the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the names of the Lord, and yet you continue the demigod worship, then it is not desirable. Then that should be given up, because somebody who's on a higher platform should not be following a lower principle or lower rule. So at a higher level of spiritual understanding, you should keep climbing up the ladder, not keep looking back. ऐसे जैसे किसी बच्चे के अगर 40% मार्क्स आते हैं एग्जाम में, उसके अगर 60% आएंगे, 60 आएंगे, तो दैट इज एन इम्प्रूवमेंट फॉर हिम. सो इसलिए लोअर लेवल पर्सन के लिए डेमीगॉड वर्शिप इज रिकमेंडेड, क्योंकि उसके लिए डेमीगॉड वर्शिप ही नेक्स्ट स्टेप है. लेकिन किसके ऑलरेडी 80% आते हैं, अगर उसके 60% मार्क्स के लिए वो एम करेगा, तो दैट इज नॉट गुड. He should be aiming for more. He should be aiming for 100%, not 60%. So depending on what level you are, Vedas give you a multi-level worship. So Vedas give opportunities to people of different consciousness with different needs, different propensities, different levels of advancement, and different desires. And keeping all of that in mind, Vedas have given different paths. So that's why Vedas are very flexible actually compared to Abrahamic religions, जिसमें बहुत ज़्यादा rigid होता है rules कि अगर आप ये नहीं कर रहे तो आप दोज़ख में जाओगे and all this. That's not like, Vedas are very flexible. No matter how low the consciousness may be, paths are given to everyone. And topmost is also given. So जो टॉपमोस्ट लोग हैं जिनकी मोस्ट एडवांस कॉन्शियसनेस है, लाइक वैष्णवास हैं, ब्राह्मणास हैं, उनके लिए भी पैथ दिया गया है. इनफैक्ट जो बिल्कुल रसिक भक्तास हैं, उनके लिए भगवान की बिल्कुल इंटीमेट कॉन्फिडेंशियल लीलास भी डिस्क्राइब्ड हैं. So, but they will not be understood by people of lower level or lower rung of the ladder. They cannot understand those. They don't have entry into those confidential pastimes of the Lord. लेकिन भगवान के धाम की, भगवान की, उनके रूप की, उनके गुण की, there are so many intricate details given in our scriptures. So from lowest to the most highest, all details are there in Vedas and caters to all types of people. तो डेमीगॉड वर्शिप का के बारे में लिखा गया, those people will enter into darkest region of ignorance. Okay. So हमने समझ लिया, लेकिन it is still better than, फिर ये वर्स बोल रहे, but it is still better than the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. Okay. So worshippers of impersonal absolute से better कैसे है? This also we had discussed last time. I'll just touch quickly about it. Who is this on iPad? Can you write your name so we know who's joining?
Hare Krishna, it's me, Neelam.
Oh, okay, thank you. So then we are saying, so demigod worship से darkest regions में जाते हैं, लेकिन even worse are the worshippers of impersonal absolute. So जो संभूति के impersonal aspect की worship करते हैं, वो उनसे भी बेकार हैं. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? So we discussed about impersonalism. That impersonalism means basically aspiring for Brahma Jyoti or Mukti from this material world, Brahma Jyoti or Brahman aspect of the Lord, but not really aspiring for the service, the Bhagwan, the loving exchanges, the relationship with the Lord. So this person is not trying to establish a relationship with the Lord. He just wants to escape the miseries of this material world. भगवान से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, लेकिन हमको इस दुनिया के दुखों से छुटकारा चाहिए. सो अगर ये दुनिया नेगेटिव है, तो हम इस दुनिया के नेगेटिव से शून्य में जाना चाहते हैं. लेकिन ही इज नॉट एस्पायरिंग फॉर जॉय, ही इज नॉट एस्पायरिंग फॉर प्लस. मतलब माइनस से जीरो में आ रहा है ये व्यक्ति, पर प्लस में नहीं जा रहा. ठीक है, तो जॉयफुल नहीं होगा उसका. जब उसको जो गति मिलेगी, मुक्ति की गति, भ्रमण में, ब्रह्म ज्योति में जाएगा, इट विल नॉट बी अ वेरी जॉयफुल सिचुएशन, बिकॉज देयर इज नो सर्विस देयर, देयर इज नो रिलेशनशिप्स देयर, देयर इज नो लविंग एक्सचेंजेस देयर, देयर इज नो कीर्तन एंड श्रवण एंड स्मरण एंड नन ऑफ दैट देयर. सो दिस पर्सन is actually aspiring for a worse goal, then इससे अच्छा तो इस material world में ही रहे और यहाँ पे सफर करता हुआ भक्ति में लगा रहे, that is better situation than to go to impersonal, than to reach the Brahman aspect. तो इसमें especially, Prabhupada condemns, very strongly criticizes the concept of Mayavad. तो impersonalism का मतलब होता है जैसे शून्यवाद, ब्रह्मवादी, जिनको ब्रह्मन में जाना है, मुक्ति लेनी है. लेकिन impersonalism की एक सब ब्रांच होती है which is called मायावाद. मायावादी वो लोग होते हैं जो ये कहते हैं कि भगवान की फॉर्म, भगवान की लीला, all of this is Maya. Actually, there is no form. Actually, the Supreme Absolute is formless, and the form, and he's forced to take a form under the control of Maya. मतलब कि ब्रह्मन भी माया के कंट्रोल में, तो इन लोगों को मायावादी बोला जाता है. तो ये they are actually considered envious of the Lord. और ये लोग इस तरीके के क्लेम करते हैं कि we can become God. So they have distorted a lot of our scriptural statements. For example, aham brahmasmi. This statement has been distorted to mean कि मैं ब्रह्मन हूँ, मैं अभी भूल गया हूँ माया के इन्फ्लुएंस में, लेकिन मैं भी भगवान बन सकता हूँ. इसकी एक्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग अहम ब्रह्मास्मि की क्या है कि हम सभी स्पिरिचुअल हैं, हम ब्रह्म हैं. यस, वी आर स्पिरिचुअली पोटेंट लाइक ब्रह्मन. We also have the same qualities as Brahman. So, Aham Brahmasmi. Yes, I am a spiritual entity. I'm a spiritual being. I'm not this body. I'm a spirit soul. That is the correct understanding of Aham Brahmasmi. ना कि मैं ब्रह्मन बन जाऊंगा, मैं भगवान बन जाऊंगा. That's not the understanding. इसी तरीके से Sarva Khalvidam Brahma, Tattvamasi. There are so many statements that have been distorted by Mayavadis to say that you can become God. So in this way, they're fooling people. And Prabhupada very strongly criticizes right from the first verse of Bhagavad Gita in through Bhagavatam and in Isopanishad, everywhere he criticizes. And actually that was the mood of all of our Vaishnavacharyas, चाहे Bhakti Vinod Thakur हैं, या even Mahaprabhu से शुरू होकर, he was very strict about Mayavadis, to condemn Mayavadis very strongly. कि माया चाहे किसी कर्मी व्यक्ति का जो इस दुनिया में एंगेज्ड है, engrossed है, उसका संग कर लो, लेकिन मायावादी का संग नहीं करो. Because they are envious of God. Because people that are engaged in this material world, they're just innocent people, they are just enjoying. It doesn't mean that they're envious of God. But Mayavadi people who are trying to become God, they're falsely, distorting scriptures, spreading all these falsities and giving these, destroying the spiritual life of people. तो प्रभुपाद कहते हैं कि तो मायावाद का मतलब है spiritual suicide. क्योंकि you are expressing your enviousness against Lord, through in various ways. So even there are many verses in our scriptures also, जैसे कि एक पद्म पुराण में वर्स आती है, मायावादम असत शास्त्रम, कि मायावाद का जो ये path है, ये असत path है, sinful है actually. It should not be followed. पर फिर हमने ये भी डिस्कस किया था कि इम्पर्सनलिज्म के कई रूप होते हैं. जब ये इम्पर्सनलिज्म हमारे इंडिया की फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल के साथ मिक्स हो गया था एट वन पॉइंट, और जब क्रिश्चियंस आए, क्रिश्चियंस की कोई बहुत ज्यादा डीप फिलोसफी तो नहीं है, it's more moral things that they teach. In fact, we had a very strong, we had strong philosophy and we have strong practices that they actually condemned and they criticized and made fun of. कि घर में काऊ कौन रखता है, या पेड़ क्यों लगा रहे हैं, और उसको पानी क्यों दे रहे हैं घर के बीच में, and so many things that they condemn. या ये रिवर्स की पूजा क्यों करते हैं, deity worship को condemn किया. So many things that they actually took away from us, right? Broke all the, so many, in many ways they made us look down on our own culture, on our own practices, and made us feel ashamed of them. So by opening all these Christian schools that, Hindu people were very proudly sending their kids to all these Christian schools, but actually they were just teaching morals only, no deep philosophy, no proper practices. So that combined with India's freedom struggle, this impersonalism took actually very strong roots in Indian society in such a way that devotional service has been completely neglected. क्योंकि इतना पुअर हो गया कंट्री कि अब सबको यही है कि पहले तो खाने को ही नहीं है किसी के पास, तो मानव सेवा ही माधव सेवा बना दिया, कि मानव सेवा ही माधव सेवा है. So all these people, came. There are reformers who are saying कि पहले तो इनकी सेवा ही करो. Yes, that's good. That's good to cater to people's bodily needs, but it doesn't make it Madhav Seva. या फिर दरिद्र नारायण term, या there's so many things. So and then there was decline of Brahmanas, of course, Kshatriyas, of course, who could not protect any aspect of the devotional service. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that the real spirituality is actually lost. So people are only just following a little bit of sense control, mind control, meditation, bas itna hi. But ultimately, what's the goal of that? Just to make this life comfortable. So now they just say, okay, whatever makes you feel good, just practice that, and that is spirituality. You are the light, you are the Brahman, just feel good, just nothingness, just merge into nothingness. There is nothing to do, nothing to say, nothing to think, no commitment, no rules, just exist, just experience, just shanti, 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 all this kind of, stuff, just to fluffy things, word jugglery, all this, but really no deep practices, no knowledge of God, no Shravanam, Kirtanam of his pastimes, none of that, has been inculcated. So in this way, people were deprived of the higher taste of spirituality. So that's why this verse is saying that the worshippers of impersonal absolute are actually worse than worship of demigod. So you can see how impersonal understanding is so harmful that it actually takes you away from the Lord. You just become very comfortable in this material life. Prabhupada says in this purport, he says a line called, they just maintain status quo. वही स्टेटस चलता रहेगा. आप अगर मेडिटेशन कर रहे हो, सेंस कंट्रोल कर रहे हो, व्हाट योगा कर रहे हो, योगा हैज बीन डिस्टॉर्टेड टू मेक टू इनटू दिस जस्ट फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज so that your current life can be disease free and you can just be calm and quiet and all this. So just maintaining status quo, just abhi ki jo life hai wo comfortable ho jaye, that is all current spirituality aims at. So pain nahi feel ho is material world ki, usse aap pain free ho jao. That is what is being taught in the name of spirituality. So that is not real transcendental knowledge. It starts with sense control, mind control, but that's not the end point. The end point is to delve into the name, form, qualities, pastimes of the Lord, which has been neglected, and only the initial part is typically taken. लेकिन इस वर्ष में कह रहे हैं कि इससे बेटर तो है कि देवी देवता की वर्शिप करो. एटलीस्ट दैट इज विद इन द वैदिक अथॉरिटी. एटलीस्ट विद दैट देयर विल बी सम submission to a superior authority. At least there will be some humility, there will be some dependence on another servant of the Lord, and you will gradually cleanse yourself and you will gradually advance instead of worshipping the impersonal absolute. From this is murky waters from which if you enter into Brahman, it will take many long time before you will fall down back into the material pool and get the opportunity to get into pure devotional service. So ये verse 12 थी. ये हमने actually पहले किया था discuss. I just wanted to review, and you can read the purport. Prabhupada talks very strongly about these impersonal pseudo-religionists who actually do not believe in the Lord, but just practicing some kind of spirituality because it gives them some name, fame, that he's calling them pseudo-religionists. So Prabhupada says Isopanishad confirms that these pseudo-religionists are heading towards the most obnoxious place in the universe after the completion of their spiritual master business, which they conduct simply for sense gratification. So ye tha. Anyone wants to share anything? To Sambhuti Asambhuti, hopefully the definitions are clear. I'll share this slide on the screen. So asambhuti ho gaya, those who have no independent existence, like the demigods. Sambhuti ho gaya, jo supreme person, absolute truth, who is independent of everything. And in this verse, Sambhuti refers to impersonal aspect of the absolute truth. Fir hai. Okay, pseudo-religionists, basically these are the people who are really have no faith in Supreme Lord. They're not following any particular acharya or any disciplic succession. And the knowledge is all concocted, and they just take some portion of the scriptures and distort them get some fame and some following, etc. So impersonalism का result क्या होगा कि you will reach the impersonal glaring effulgence of the Lord known as Brahman, but you cannot reach Bhagwan or Krishna. So that is actually very much condemned. Mukti is very much condemned by the Vaishnavas. Okay. Anyone else wants to share anything? Let's read number 13. So 13 में था. Okay, this slide says that Vedas talk about karma kanda, basically religious materialism or ritualistic activities. Upanishads, जो अभी हम पढ़ रहे हैं Upanishads, they talk about Gyan Kand, so impersonalism. So we are going from material to spiritual. But so this is a ladder. Bhagavatam talks about pure devotional service. So Vedas में सब ritualistic चीजें दी गई हैं जो maximum लोग करते हैं, कर्म कांड करते हैं, देवी देवता की worship या various type of rituals, but not out of selfless love for some material desires or for some comforts and things. Upanishads talk about Gyan Kand mostly, so impersonal aspect or Mukti. But remember, this is not the conclusion. This is just a step to get to the next level, which is the pure Bhakti. Shall we keep going? Should we do this next one? It is in line with what we read.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 13, can anyone read the translation one more time?
I can read. It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. Hare Krishna.
So, if you remember, this is going in the same flow, right? जैसे विद्या का flow था 9th and 11 में कि दोनों से अलग अलग रिजल्ट मिलते हैं, ऐसे असंभूति और संभूति से भी अलग अलग रिजल्ट मिलता है. तो अब संभूति क्या हो गया? सुप्रीम लॉर्ड. असंभूति क्या हो गया? जो जैसे देवी देवता, डेमीगॉड्स. So this verse is saying different results are obtained by worshipping these two different entities. असंभूति से अलग रिजल्ट मिलेगा, संभूति की वर्शिप से अलग रिजल्ट मिलेगा. तो इसका मतलब अगर आप देवी देवता, और ये कृष्णा ने तो कई बार कहा ये पॉइंट भगवद गीता में, इफ यू रिमेंबर भगवद गीता 9.25, कृष्णा सेज कि ही सेज यान्ति देवा व्रता देवान् पितृयान्ति पितृव्रता भूतानि यान्ति भूतेज्या यान्ति मद्याजिनोऽपि माम्. सो ही सेज यान्ति देवा व्रता देवान, की जो देवी देवताओं की पूजा करते हैं, दे गो टू देयर प्लैनेट्स, टू द प्लैनेट्स ऑफ डेमीगॉड्स. Pitri yanti pitrivrata. Those who worship their ancestors, they go to the planets of their ancestors. Bhutani yanti bhuteja. जो घोस्ट की पूजा करते हैं, वो घोस्ट मतलब जो ये लोअर प्लैनेट्स होते हैं, भूतानी उनके प्लैनेट्स में जानते हैं. यांति मद या जिनोपी माम. और जो मेरी पूजा करते हैं, यांति मद मतलब माय वर्शिप, या जिनोपी माम, दे कम बैक टू मी. ऑफ देयर इज नो डाउट. So इसका मतलब different results are obtained by worshipping different entities. So this is very important to understand because there are so many people who says that no matter what you do, same result can be obtained. That no matter what path you follow, all paths lead to the same result. ऐसा आपने सुना होगा, कई बार ऐसे बोलते हैं. But Prabhupada says this very strongly actually. Let me show you some slide. Prabhupada says very strongly that अगर आपने कैलकाटा की टिकट ली है तो आप कैलकाटा ही जाओगे ना, आप बॉम्बे थोड़ी ना पहुंच जाओगे. So he says it like this: all paths do not lead to the same goal. So if you look at this, so if you take this path, you will go there, reach that destination. All paths are leading to different destinations because there are so many destinations. Some of them go into material world, some of them go into spiritual sky. Even in spiritual sky, there are different destinations. तो जिसकी जिस भाव से पूजा की जाएगी, जिसका जो मूड होगा जिस डिवोटी का, वो उसी हिसाब से भगवान उसको रेसिप्रोकेट करेंगे. इफ ही वांट्स टू एंजॉय इन द हेवनली प्लैनेट्स, then that's where he will end up. If he wants to get mukti, then he will end up in Brahma Jyoti, Brahman. If he wants to go to to serve Lord Ram, if he's a Lord Ram's bhakta, then he will go to Lord, then he's not going to Golok Vrindavan to serve in the Leelas of Krishna. Doesn't make any sense. He's Lord Ram's devotee. He's going to Lord Ram's planet. If there are some in South especially, there are so many people that are followers of, that are devotees of Varahadev. So then he's going to Varadev's planet. You're getting different destinations based on who's your worshipable deity. Where do you, what are your desires? What are your spiritual desires, material desires? Accordingly, you will get the destination, not just that one fit for all. That's not what will happen. Krishna is very vast. He's unlimited. He can reciprocate with you in multiple expansions. So he will reciprocate according to your needs and desires. So if you want some result, you will, if you want demigod worship, then you will get the result accordingly. So different paths will lead to different destinations. So Prabhupada has also quoted this verse in the purport that I just recited from Bhagavad Gita 9.25. So here is where he says, one who has purchased a ticket for Kolkata can reach Kolkata, not Mumbai. So this is what Prabhupada used to say very famously. So जैसे कि आज ही मैं क्लास में सुन रही थी कि एक व्यक्ति बोलता है, he was following some spiritual path. तो बोलता है, अच्छा तुम मंत्र का जाप करते हो? मैं भी मंत्र का जाप करता हूँ. तो डिवोटी ने उससे पूछा, अच्छा किस मंत्र का जाप करते हो? उसने कहा, एक्चुअली हमें कोई ऐसा मंत्र नहीं दिया गया, हमें बस ये बोला जो मन में आए बोल सकते हो, जो मन में आए कुछ भी बोल सकते हो. अल्टीमेटली आप चाहे शिवा बोलो, चाहे गणेश बोलो, चाहे हनुमान बोलो, कुछ भी बोलो, आपको मतलब माइंड को फोकस करने से है. अल्टीमेटली रिजल्ट इज ऑल द सेम. So that is a very incorrect, misleading understanding. This is the type of misdirected knowledge, misdirected spiritual paths, misdirected pseudo-religionists or pseudo-spiritualists that Prabhupada is warning us against. They will destroy you. Because human life is very rare, and you get, along with these type of, get behind these type of pseudo-religionist or pseudo intellectual theories, then you will waste your human life. So उसको कहीं पे ऐसे भी मजाक में उड़ाते हैं. मोगलीला प्रभु स्पेशली ऑलवेज सेज लाइक, तो अच्छा अगर हम कोका कोला बोलें तो क्या होगा? उससे भी मुझे भगवान की प्राप्ति हो जाएगी. अगर मुझे भगवान चाहिए तो क्या कोका कोला बोलने से भी मिल जाएंगे? हरे कृष्णा महामंत्र तो बहुत लंबा है. maybe I should just say कोका कोला. So no, whatever names you're chanting, that's going to affect your consciousness. That's the destination you will get. We are spiritual, living, dynamic entities. Our consciousness is changed very much by what we say, what we hear, what we come in contact with. It's not just ki kuch bhi bolo chalega. So that's not recommended. So these so-called spiritual masters, these made-up theories that are not authentic, that are not coming from scriptures, they're just devising some mode of worship to just have some kind of following and fame. That will attract foolish people, but intelligent people will see. They will go. That's why Prabhupada gave so much emphasis to books. इसलिए वो बोलते थे books are the basis, and that's why intelligent people will associate. In fact, Mahaprabhu himself said, Bhagavatam says that intelligent people will engage in Krishna bhakti. क्योंकि it's because this is a sublime path. The knowledge of scriptures is very sublime, subtle. It's not appealing or attractive to foolish people. But if you are intelligent, if you're smart, and you like evidence-based stuff, that's why there are so many doctors in this movement, because doctors like evidence-based, and you can see the evidence. You want to see the written word. जैसे हमारे papers होते हैं, हमारी journals होते हैं, वैसे you can see that everything is already nicely written up in our scriptures, and there are so numerous examples of people who have achieved perfection by following this path. So Prabhupada constantly warns us against pseudo spiritualists who make up paths and some concocted methods of worship to befool you. So this is so basically you will get different destinations based on whether you follow Sambhuti or Supreme Lord, or Asambhuti, which is demigod worship. And Krishna says many times in Bhagavad Gita that if you worship me, I guarantee you that you will come to my abode, my supreme abode. He says, Na tadbhasyate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante Tadhama paramam mama. So many verses. Like Bhagavad Gita is full of verses. Almost every other verse is like an invitation from Krishna to come back to me. If you do this, you will come back to me. If you do that, you will come back to me. So ultimately, we just have to go back to him. and all these other paths, lower paths of demigod worship, asambhuti, are, he even says in Bhagavad Gita that there are erroneous paths. Even though you are worshipping according to Vedas, you're doing it faultily, you're doing it incorrectly, he says in one of the verses. Ki demigod worship is something that it's a way to approach me ultimately, but it is a long way, and it is being done in a wrong way. Like you're doing um, शॉर्टकट है जब आपके पास, तो आप इतना लंबा रास्ता क्यों ले रहे हो? Okay. Now, another point I wanted to mention in this verse, other than the fact that we get different destinations based on what we worship, this line here, iti sushrumadhiranam ye nastad vichachakshire. This line is common in पहले भी हमने जब अविद्या विद्या के बारे में बात की थी, तो मंत्रा 10 में भी सेम लाइन आई थी. This is here, the verse is saying, all this is heard from undisturbed authorities who have clearly explained it. This is a very important point actually. Sometimes we just pay attention to the first line, which we have discussed, ठीक है? कि supreme की worship करोगे तो different destination मिलेगी, और असंभूति की demigod worship करोगे तो different destination मिलेगी. This point I think is clear. Now look at the second line, okay? We have heard this from undisturbed authorities. धीरा नाम, धीर, धीर पुरुष या धीर वर्ड जो है, ये भगवत गीता में काफी अच्छे से कृष्णा ने एक्सप्लेन किया है कि धीर पुरुष क्या होता है, सोबर पर्सन क्या होता है, अनडिस्टर्ब पर्सन क्या होता है. So this is something we have to spend time on, because this is a practical point for us, and this is in the same line as I was talking about pseudo spiritualist. So undisturbed people is the ones that we should be connected to. जैसे हमारे वैष्णवाचार्यस हैं, sober people, people that come in a proper disciplic succession, people that are coming in line, that are connected to a bona fide acharya, to a bona fide line of, of chain of Guru Shishya Parampara. Those people, and they have not only have sense control, mind control, but they're also connected in parampara. They're pure devotees of the Lord. They're Uttam Adhikari Mahabhagavad devotees. Only those people can explain this, because only those people can understand Krishna. Remember in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, anyone remembers the verse? I know that Mom and Nagarjuna Prabhu have memorized many verses. Where does Krishna say that only my devotees can truly know me? Which verse says that? I'm not putting anyone on spot, so जिसको भी याद है.
भक्त्या मामपि जानाति
Yeah.
यावच्छास्मि तत्त्वता ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति.
नहीं, लास्ट टाइम गलत हो गया. ये कंबाइंड
तो
कहीं और का.
हाँ.
हाँ, एक बार और ट्राई करो, मे बी कैन गेट इट.
भक्त्या माम् अभिजानाति यावच्छास्मि तत्त्वता ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा
पिष्टे तद अनंतरम.
अनन्तरम्.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and there are many verses like that, right? कि only my devotee can know me. So, so Krishna, so the devotees, the pure devotees of the Lord, are the undisturbed authorities who not only have the basic qualification of sense control, mind control, anger control, all those controls over their body, gross body, subtle body, but and they're not disturbed by the tides of material energy. Prabhupada says in purport, in this purport only, Prabhupada says that these people are not disturbed by the whirlpools. He uses not tides, he uses the word whirlpool of material energy. So they are very well established in bhakti. They are deeply attached to Krishna, and they can understand the subtle aspects of the scriptures, and to them Krishna has revealed his confidential knowledge, his confidential pastimes and whatnot. Again, I keep going back to Bhagavad Gita because that's our fundamental literature. So we should be very solidly connected in Bhagavad Gita. We should be very well versed with Bhagavad Gita. So if you remember in chapter 4, Krishna says to Arjuna that I am giving you this knowledge. I'm giving you this knowledge, you being the keyword. I'm giving you this knowledge because you are my friend. Because you are my friend. So to establish a relationship with Krishna is very important to understand him. Krishna is not going to reveal himself to any Tom, Dick and Harry. He is supreme person. He has, जैसे कि अगर हम अपनी बात करें, हम कितने मिनिमम माइन्यूट जीवा हैं, इन्फिनिटेसिमल, हम भी अपना हार्ट शेयर करना हो, अपनी प्रॉब्लम शेयर करनी हो, कॉन्फिडेंसेस शेयर करने हो, वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू रिवील टू समबडी वी डोंट हैव एनी रिलेशनशिप विद, राइट? We want to know that person will feel compassion for us, that the person will reciprocate with us, will understand, will give us some good guidance, whatnot. So then only to a non-envious person will share our heart. So Krishna is saying, I am giving you this transcendental knowledge because you are my friend, because you are not envious of me. He says that you're not envious of me. So Krishna is giving this qualification that in order to understand me, you have to be non-envious. So if you remember again in Bhagavad Gita, Arjun was very disturbed in the beginning of the, I wanted to pay attention to this word, undisturbed and disturbed. Was Arjuna disturbed in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita? He was very disturbed, right? He was very overcome by emotions. He was very agitated. Why? Because he was thinking that I have to kill these so-called relatives, right? He was so attached to these so-called relatives that I have to kill them, whatnot. So he was very disturbed. But when he said, so hold on. So that time he was thinking of acting in a philanthropic way, है ना, चैरिटेबल वे, छोड़ के चले जाता हूँ, इनको दे देता हूँ, इनको भोगने दो, मुझे क्या करना है, नॉन वायलेंट वे, है ना. So in this way he was having this daya, this compassion for these so called relatives. So that time he was disturbed. So most of the people that are trying to spread spirituality in this world are disturbed like this, meaning they are only catering to the bodily aspects of people. अर्जुन भी उस समय सिर्फ अपने relatives की body से ही attached था. उसको ये था कि नॉन वायलेंट वे में एक्ट करूं, फिलेंथ्रोपिक या चैरिटेबल वे में एक्ट करूं, इनकी बॉडी को बचा लूं किसी तरीके से. ही वाज फीलिंग दया लाइक दैट. सिमिलरली जो आजकल के भी चैरिटी करते हैं लोग, सोशल रिफॉर्मर्स की जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे, उनसे हम सब लोग बड़े अटैच होते हैं रिफॉर्मर्स वगैरह से, क्योंकि इन लोगों ने हमें हमारे बॉडीली लेवल पे हेल्प की है. मानव सेवा ही माधव सेवा, बहुत बड़ी बात बोली. ओ ये तो बड़े महान आदमी हैं, क्योंकि इनके हिसाब से मानव की सेवा भगवान की सेवा से भी बढ़कर है, ऐसे ऐसे कॉन्सेप्ट्स दिए हमें. बेसिकली व्हाट दे आर डूइंग इज केटरिंग टू द बॉडी ऑफ पीपल, है ना. चैरिटी करो, ऑर्फनेजेस खोलो, मेडिकल एड दो, इमरजेंसी सर्विसेज हो, ऑल गुड थिंग्स. But it does not mean that that seva is bigger than the seva of the Lord. It does not make चैरिटी का मतलब ये नहीं है कि जो स्पिरिचुअल सर्विसेज हैं या एक्टिविटीज हैं वो लोअर हैं. ये भी ठीक है, और इसको दोनों को कंबाइन करके करना चाहिए. इसलिए नेक्स्ट वर्स में आएगा कि दोनों को कंबाइन करना चाहिए, राइट. तो इस समय अर्जुन डिस्टर्ब था बिकॉज ही वाज एक्टिंग ऑन अ बॉडीली प्लेटफॉर्म. सिमिलरली द pseudo religionists, the social reformers, the pseudo spiritualists that we have in this world these days are acting on a bodily platform, so they are also disturbed and they can cater to your body. That's why yoga को भी उन्होंने distort. Now I'm trying to connect all the dots कि योगा को भी उन्होंने सिर्फ फिजिकल वेलबींग का ही सिस्टम बना दिया है, या फिर कुछ नाम भी चैंट करना है तो सिर्फ अपनी अभी के लिए काम हो जाओ, क्वाइट हो जाओ, एंगर चली जाए, ताकि आप अपने बॉस की गालियां खा सको, आपको गुस्सा नहीं आए. ऑल दीज थिंग्स के लिए आपको योगा दिया गया है, आपको मेडिटेशन दी गई है, ये सब दिया गया है. सो इस तरीके से दे केटर टू योर करंट बॉडीली नीड्स, जैसे अर्जुन वाज ट्राइंग टू केटर टू द बॉडीली नीड्स ऑफ हिज रिलेटिव्स एट दैट टाइम. ही वाज आल्सो डिस्टर्ब्ड, दीज पीपल आर आल्सो डिस्टर्ब्ड. तो इसीलिए यहाँ पे ये वर्ड अनडिस्टर्ब्ड इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि पीपल दैट आर इन स्पिरिचुअल कॉन्शियसनेस हैव अ स्पिरिचुअल विजन. दे आर नॉट जस्ट केटरिंग टू द बॉडी, दे आर आल्सो वेल विशर्स. जैसे अर्जुन वेल विशर था, दे आर आल्सो वेल विशर्स, but they know that we have to act according to instruction of Krishna. Krishna wanted Arjun to kill these so-called relatives despite those bodily attachments. इसी तरीके से these undisturbed pure devotees of the Lord understand that people have bodily needs, but we need to make them look towards their spiritual aspect and cater to their spiritual aspect also. They're right now they're completely neglecting their spiritual existence. तो स्पिरिट सोल होते हुए भी अपनी स्पिरिचुअल एग्जिस्टेंस को निग्लेक्ट करके सिर्फ बॉडी को ही कर रहे हैं सब चीजें. तो इसीलिए तभी अनडिस्टर्ब्ड अथॉरिटीज आती हैं टू क्रिएट डिस्टर्बेंस इन द लाइफ ऑफ अदर पीपल. इसलिए स्वयं भगवान केशव महाराज कहते हैं कि प्रभुपाद जैसे लोग हुए जो भी ये खुद अनडिस्टर्ब्ड होते हैं, बट व्हाट डू दे डू इज दे कॉज स्पिरिचुअल, दे आर कॉल्ड स्पिरिचुअल डिसरप्टर्स. इनको डिसरप्टर्स बोलते हैं क्योंकि ये आपकी लाइफ में आके एकदम डिस्टर्ब कर देंगे। यहाँ पे ये सब रिफॉर्मर्स और ये स्पिरिचुअलिस्ट सूडो स्पिरिचुअलिस्ट लगे हुए हैं आपको योगा और मेडिटेशन सिखाने में, आपकी लाइफ को कंफर्टेबल बनाने में। फिर एक प्रभुपाद जैसा कोई आएगा जो आपको बोलेगा ये सब क्या नॉनसेंस है, you are not this body, you're using yoga and all this to just cater to your bodily needs. No, you are the spirit soul, you need to do shravanam kirtanam smaranam. So we should hear from these undisturbed authorities, even though they may create disturbance in your life, even though this all may sound very unpalatable, distasteful in the beginning, but this is actually the medicine that we need. So we should hear from these undisturbed authorities because they have understood the heart of Krishna. To them, they are the friends of Krishna. They have established a relationship with Krishna. To them, Krishna has given all transcendental knowledge. So we should hear from these authorities actually. इसीलिए बहुत सारे लोग इस path पे चल नहीं पाते क्योंकि जब वो when they hear scriptures, when they hear classes, discourses, it's very strong, it's very heavy for them. They want to stay in their bodily comfort zone. लेकिन ये जो disruptors हैं ये उनको उनकी बॉडी के कंफर्ट जोन में से बाहर निकाल रहे हैं कि सुबह उठो, नाम भजन करो, धाम पे जाओ या टेम्पल में सेवा करो, ये सब करने को बोल रहे हैं. So this disrupts their life and nobody wants to hear that. So they came here for some calmness, some meditation, some comfort. But actually, you have to go out of your comfort zone a little bit to understand the sambhuti. So in this way, this verse is saying that two different results are obtained by worshipping Sambhuti versus Asambhuti, and the undisturbed authorities, the Dhir Purush, the pure devotees of the Lord, who come in the Sampradaya, who come in a bona fide disciplic succession, have explained this. So don't go to the wrong people, don't go for the wrong interpretations, no matter how appealing they may sound. And Krishna says, Ma Shucha, don't worry, I'll take care of you. So, okay, that's all I have to share. Anybody wants to share anything? Let me have some slides. Could Nagarchan Prabhu want to add something or anything else?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yeah, very important discussion and very important shlokas directly coming from Sri Isopanishad. Because this is very prevalent that and when we go to preach or when we discuss about spirituality, these kind of concepts are very prevalent. That all हमें secular होना चाहिए. All roads lead to the same God. All कुछ भी करो, everything is the same. Or at the end of it, the problem is not that people are not following that they are following something very sincerely and they really believe in it. The thing is they're not following anything and they use these excuses to actually not follow anything, any religious path. So in Vedas and in our scriptures, it's defined that different levels, based upon different levels of intelligence, time, place, circumstances, different religions come up. But people are either following blindly those paths and not ready to look beyond it, or for them everything is the same. So they would not go into actual reasoning and they will say, no, yaar, everything is the same. You go to another religion, they will also say the same thing, that theirs is the best. But no, is it really saying it? What is Christianity saying? Jesus is the Son of God. It is not saying Jesus is the God. But in our scripture in Bhagavad Gita, it is saying Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So many places. And then it is very clearly stated what is the status of people who worship demigods, what is their destination. So it is actually, we are not, and the problem is more than anybody else, the problem is with so-called Hindus. And I say so-called Hindus is because they are not following even their religion and actually take it almost as a excuse of for not following the religion. That no, religion leads to fanaticism. That's why we are not fanatics. So they are taking this and they are actually not following even their religion or any other religion. And they do basically, they just follow sense gratification in one way or the other. And this, no, we are just pious people. We don't do anything wrong. So that is what they hide again under. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, this has become latest trend कि भाई वो बड़े सारे टेररिस्ट अटैक जो होते हैं वो रिलीजियस टेररिज्म से होते हैं, तो कहीं हम भी फॉलो करेंगे तो हम भी ऐसे ही ना बन जाएं। पर एक तो majority is concentrated in another religion. There are not so many precedents for our particular path, but they have made it as an excuse. उनको ये excuse मिल गया जो करना नहीं चाहते थे, because it is uncomfortable, right? To get up, these are bodily discomforts to follow certain sense control, mind control, not to cater to body all the time, to cater to soul, which you cannot see. So उसको cater करना कोई चाहता नहीं, body दिखती है, उसको cater करना चाहते हैं सब। तो थोड़ा सा you have to go out of comfort zone. तो जो भी कलयुग means laziness. So जो भी lazy लोग हैं उनको excuse मिल गया, चलो भाई बड़े terrorist attack होते हैं, हमको नहीं terrorist बनना, इसलिए हम नहीं follow करेंगे. So many reasons they have found to not follow. But so this is again coming to the same thing. आचार्य and परंपरा इसे सुनना चाहिए हमको. And then कृष्णा को यहाँ पे संभूता बोला गया या संभवात बोला गया. इसके बहुत सारे प्रभुपाद ने परपोर्ट में, ये प्रभुपाद के परपोर्ट से आए हैं ये सारे, कि कृष्णा इज द सुप्रीम कॉज, और संभवात इसके बहुत सारे रेफरेंसेस हैं. ये कुछ तो आप लोग ही दे सकते हो, I'm sure भगवद गीता में से कोई दे सकता है जहाँ पे कृष्णा ने कहा है कि मैं सुप्रीम हूँ या मुझसे सब कुछ आता है, all creations come from me, या I'm the source of all sustenance and everything. कोई, I'm sure everybody can say one verse.
So 7.3. I don't know if I'm saying the right one.
7.7. Yeah, you want to decide?
Yeah. Matta parataram nanyat.
Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya
Mani sarvamidam protam sutre mani ganaiva. Like this.
Navya wants to decide one. कौन सी करोगे जिसमें पता चलता है कृष्ण is the source of everything? हम सर्वस्य को मत्ता सर्वं प्रवर्तते इति मत्वा भजन्ते मां बुधवद्भाव समन्विता. या और वो जो है ब्रह्म संहिता की फर्स्ट वर्स, ईश्वरा परमा कृष्णा सच्चिदानंद विग्रह अनादिरादिर गोविंदा सर्व कारण कारणः. And then of course जन्माद्यस्य. Right. So all those जन्माद्यस्य को तो बोलते ही संभवात वर्स हैं. This is new I learned. क्योंकि उसमें संभवात के सारे concepts होते हैं. Somebody who is the cause of everything, from whom all the demigods come, who is fully conscious, fully cognizant, fully independent. No one can know him fully, even Brahma and Shiva. ये सारे concepts उसमें आते हैं. Who is eternally enjoying his pastimes in his own abode. That is a
Even I was also thinking of speaking this Ishvara Parama Krishna. That seems.
You want to decide?
At that time, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidanand Vigraha Anadir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. I remembered this. इसमें तो कृष्णा यही कह रहा है कि I am the Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Yeah.
But then I thought कि I may be wrong.
नहीं ये तो बिल्कुल ही straight forward है बस.
हाँ बिल्कुल मुझे आता भी अच्छी तरह यही था और कोई आते भी नहीं थे, तो मैंने कहा नहीं, पर चलो ठीक है. गुड. और
मॉम you want to decide नहीं, आपको भगवद गीता में से कोई और याद आ रही है वर्ष?
10.10 41 बोल सकते हैं.
यज्ञतपसाम सर्वलोका महेश्वरा. आगे याद नहीं है. भोक्ताराम
यज्ञतपसाम
सर्वलोका महेश्वरा
सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां
रक्षति. ज्ञात्वा शांति रक्षति।
यहाँ पे भी बोल रहे हैं देखो कि जो मुझे महेश्वर समझेगा वो अपने आप शांति मिल जाएगी उसको, है ना, तो अनडिस्टर्ब हो जाएगा ना। अच्छा, ये 15 चैप्टर की वर्स पुरुषोत्तम योगा की, यो मामेव असम्मूढ़ो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं सा सर्वाविद भजति माम सर्वभावेन भारता, कि जो मुझे पुरुषोत्तम जानता है, सा सर्वाविद भजति माम सर्वभावेन। Okay, I
I
think
was
we
also
should
thinking of 10.41, or that all this is just a spark of my
opulence.
opulence. Yes.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining. So we finished 12 and 13. We'll continue from 14. Please read. Prabhupada's purports are long, so I did not read the purport today, but the purports are wonderful because Prabhupada covers many concepts. He gives many verses also, so please read. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna. Vancha Kautarubhyascha Kripa Sindhudevacha Patitanaam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tamahare Krishna Krishna
Krishna Bhaktaya.